What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Best You Nation with both your hosts, Finn and Adler.
Hey, guys. How are you guys? Finn, it's nice to see you. Hopefully, you had a good week. I'm really excited to get into this new episode because we're going to visit something. It's like a blast from the past. And we're going to go visit a topic that we kind of covered a little while ago. Pretty much this season, we're taking like our top ranked or top viewed post and basically kind of seeing if we still align with those thoughts and what we think, like if it's changed, if it's improved, or if we still see things the same. And it's funny because we get a chance to kind of like go back and just relive like where we were at in that point of life and why we said what we said, and then to come in and now, like pretty much both of us engaged, pretty much on the verge of marriage and that lifestyle, and to see if we still have that same mindset. So like I
Yes.
said, I'm really excited to kind of get into that. That's going to be super exciting.
I agree, man. And, this season has been really unique because, we've been talking about things that you say blast of the past. I think we've only had one episode that was more recent, but a lot of the
Yeah.
episodes from the past, were either single or we were in relationships, but we never really we were just developing our mindsets for the relationship. So
Yeah.
before we get going, though, for all you guys out there who are new to the podcast, thank you so much for being a part of our family and taking the time to listen to us. I think you guys are going to benefit a lot from what we're talking about. And if you haven't done so, maybe take a glimpse at previous episodes, look through the seasons, because there's a lot of phenomenal content out there. And with that being said, Mondays Mondays we release on YouTube. Except this past week, I was having technical issues with YouTube, so it came out Tuesday. But for the most part, Mondays 5 a.m. 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, and then on just like Hulu does most times with other shows, we roll out the audio only edition on the following day. So just make sure check out YouTube. You get the video edition. You can watch us 4K or however you like to watch us. And then you also have the option to just, if you're on the road and you don't want to be distracted while you're on a long road trip, you can listen to us or at the gym, wherever you're doing on audio 4K as well. Tuesdays, 5 p.m. or 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. So the reason why we throw that out there, guys, is because there's so many platforms that have hosted our podcast and are continuing to host, and we keep adding more and more to our list. And I'm just grateful that we get to do this. And that's
I mean, we were super blessed. Like when we got into this space, like podcasting really wasn't that big of a thing. And so we kind of got grandfathered into a lot of the situations that we're in, like with Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So, wherever you catch your podcast, we're there. And again, like I said, we're super fortunate, super blessed to even have access to it just because of the timing and how we got into it. So like, subscribe, share, and keep up with us on social medias and stuff. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit later on. But Finn, what do you have in store for us today?
Well, today, so basically, we are like how you said it. We're doing a blast to the past, but then we're also doing a blast to the past of the past. So basically, we're going backwards in time, talking about the question, which I guess I should probably have up for myself because I'm bad. I'm bad at this. Okay, so one of the things that we did a couple years ago, I think you actually brought this question up, and you were asking, do you still feel like no?
Still feel like it. I
So
still
this is
feel
when we were
like,
doing the bowls. This is
yeah,
when So we asked the question, do you still feel like you're not grown up? And so now
still
that a
feel like
few
a kid.
you still feel like a kid. Yeah, that's the gist of this conversation. So today I feel like it will be interesting because now that we, like you mentioned earlier, we're on the I'm 70 of the day that of recording. We're 77 or 78 days away from getting married, Cassandra and I. So we're at an entirely different level. Um, Super exciting. I mean, it's going to be phenomenal. And then you and Abby are working on getting your wedding situated. So
Yeah.
for the
I
future.
don't know how many days. It's
Well,
I've got
I feel
plenty
like
of time.
I feel like once you hit like 300, it's easy. Like a year is when it starts to really start counting down. I feel like
I'm sure.
that's
Well, I'm sure. Like I'm probably like a year and a few months. So like
yeah. So
it
not too
it's not
far out.
even in my horizon. Just it's just working on like just
Getting
working on
things
like making it through the day at this point.
exactly. Yeah, man. It's I'm just gonna cut right to it. Do you still feel like you live in your childhood mindset, or do you still feel like you've grown up now? Right, this was a few years ago. Do you still stand by what you said or how you felt about not necessarily ever letting go of being a child, like a
I
childlike
mean,
mindset?
so all right, I can say that there's certain things that are still like a childlike mindset. Like I get really excited when my favorite sports team is playing and they're winning. Like it'd be like watching Germany take down Brazil. You're screaming at the top of your lungs and you're running around like a little kid. And like I definitely think in that aspect, like that childhood or childlike state, I don't think that's ever gonna leave. I don't. I'm pretty sure like that's here to stay.
Right.
But I can definitely see how like there's certain things that like I just view a little bit differently. Like I think when I'm single or when we were single, it was kind of like okay, I can sit back, watch like TV all day, and just kind of just chill. And like time doesn't matter because it's yours. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. If you decide to go grocery shopping at 9 p.m., you could do that. It doesn't matter. If you decide, hey, I'm going to hang out with the boys and come back home at 3 in the morning, you can do that. And um, as get in a relationship, I think that you still have like those childlike tendencies. However, it being in a relationship forces you to mature. It forces you to grow up a little bit. It forces you to now, or let me let me go back. Being in a healthy relationship, it forces you to mature and it forces you to start thinking about the other person and having to consider like, okay, hey, if I do this, you know, she'll, feel this way, and you have to be a little bit more mindful. Like even like spending time with my boys, like I could spend time with my boys, but then it's like, okay, hey, I know that I can't do this like 4, 5, 6 consecutive nights in a row because if I do that, then that's where we're gonna have like a little bit of issues. Like, all right, hey, you know, you're neglecting me. Show me some time. Give me some attention.
Right.
It's things like that. It's just trying to be a little bit more considerate of like the other person's emotions, feelings, and what they want and what they expect. And like I think like especially being like in a relationship in my 30s is a little bit different than when I was younger because I had it's kind of like how like it is basically like being a child. Like when you're a kid, you have no concept of pain. So if you pull mommy's hair or you pinch daddy, it's like haha, it's funny because they wince, but you don't understand what pain is. It's not until like you actually experience pain for yourself as a kid, then you start to say, "Oh wow, maybe I shouldn't do this. Like it's I'm being kind of a jerk. I should probably let go of mommy's hair. I'm not gonna do this anymore." So I think in certain regards, I'm still gonna be that child. Like I'm gonna have that childlike state. Like I still like they came out with X-Men '97, which is like a cartoon that I watched when I was a kid. Yeah, I watched it as a 33-year-old grown man, and I watched the reboot they came out on Disney Plus. I have no shame in it. I still love watching my anime. I still love, certain parts of like life. I know that I'm still gonna love even until like even when I'm 56 years old. But I can also acknowledge that there's a time and a place for it. It's not like one of those things you just do every day. It's one of those things you say, okay, I can't do this every day, but I can do this, on certain days or pick like a certain time out of the month and be like, all right, let's walk down memory lane and act like a kid, act like a child. Like, do you remember? Think about it like this, right, Finn? Do you remember a time where you would go to a friend's house, and then you would just spend all day just finding random crap to do, whether just like surfing YouTube or going and play Manhunt or playing video games for endless hours. And then now as an adult, you start to realize like, man, there's not enough time in a day for me to get like do the things that I want to do, but then also do the fun stuff that we used to do.
Right. Yeah. No. I so time has always been something for me that I really kind of I took Cassandra this all the time. Like time, is just such a interesting thing for me. I think a lot of like the fact that I remember so much of my childhood and she doesn't, or I remember details of my childhood that I question myself whether or not I should, as a child, like, or as an adult, should I be able to remember certain things to the T, to the way the weather was that day, or what shirt I had on. Um, but yeah, no, I feel like the concept of time, the concept of oh, there's someone on my roof. That's great. I was like, I know
Eh,
someone. No, like literally right there. That's great. Um, Sorry. So the concept of time is definitely a factor as to you and your childhood like behaviors and your childlike just in general, right? And one of the things that I was remember listening to the episode very briefly, and I don't remember what we were screaming about, but we were screaming about quesadillas. And it's I just don't remember the context of it, but we were screaming about quesadillas. And what's funny about the whole concept of that episode was to kind of highlight what it's do you still feel like you have your childhood like tendencies. And I guess one of the things that we talked about on there, and it's talking about the quesadilla, I just remember I wrote down my notes that we screamed quesadilla on the show. I don't know why, but we were screaming about quesadillas. um this is like the equivalent to the marshmallow stick, but just like it's just a random thought. But I there's my notes. Uh, Basically, I wrote here the world was is the world is not as safe. So I thought it was interesting because I talked about how like as a kid you don't have a concept of anything. It kind of relates to the quite like the whole concept of hanging out with your friends and just doing whatever you want. Like a lot of times we were out playing sports, we'd be playing wiffle ball, playing kickball, playing if it was hot outside, we would go and play the Wii. Like you basically were told to not come back until the street lights came on. And it's like telling a kid that in our I feel like in our at our when we were younger, obviously you're a couple miles ahead of me, but still it's just a different time. And I think the reality of all of it comes down to now looking back on it, your perspective on things in life now are a little bit different because you have different priorities. You have a better understanding of time. Now, like I remember my dad used to say something, and this is so funny because I said the same thing in this on the last time we did this episode. But my dad said something that I didn't understand as a child, as a kid, was my dad says as you get older, time goes faster. And I'm like, that's not true because you still have the same 24 hours in a day.
it feels like it
It
goes really
feels like it goes
fast.
faster.
Yeah,
But it's because, let's be honest, you and I spend 12 hours of our day at work. That's half a day already given to
gone.
our job. So then you have to count in sleeping. So that's what, 5 or 6 hours. So you're already at what, 17, 18 hours. So you
Yes.
really, in essence, only have 6 hours for the rest of the day to do the things you want. When back
Yeah.
then you would sleep 8 hours and you were in school for, some days of the week. And it just, I felt like, I felt like the world was safer because you didn't understand what was going on. And you didn't really
Ignorance
have
is
to,
bliss.
yes. And
Yeah.
that, I feel like sometimes with the childlike behavior, it does help you kind of go back to that where you get to choose now. So this is the thing. Back then you didn't really have a choice because it just was whatever you were exposed to or the things that you were aware of.
Mm.
It's kind of hard to, ignore, but most times as a kid you were just kind of you did your own thing. Now as adults, you're more aware of what's going on in the world. Plus accessibility to the news and what's going on is much faster than it used to be. So
Yep.
you get a choice on whether or not you want to still somewhat have that innocence is bliss mindset by saying, okay, yes, there are things going on in the world, but I also can't let it dictate how I feel or how I go about my day, or even what's going on here locally. Like there's things going on at your jobs that just drive you off the wall. And it's like you get to choose. Do I get upset or do I just brush it off and
Yeah,
realize that I'm in my own little world and I know why I'm going to work? I have a mission to go there. And I think that that's a big difference that you see in the concept of the whole question of, do you still feel like a child, or the proper way of asking this question is, do you still feel like I'm not grown up? To answer that question, and then I'm going to ask you this too. I feel like today, and I don't know if this is just because we're getting married, but I also don't think you make a decision to get married without feeling like you're more of an adult with childhood tendencies, right? When at one point I felt like I was still pretty, and years ago I was hyper crazy. Like I was so immature. Like I feel like that was just even like 5 or 6 years ago. But I feel like now that I'm less than 90 days of getting married, less than 80
yeah,
days of getting away from being married, I feel like it's getting real, and I feel like I've also crossed that line of, you've hit 25 now and being 20, being 26. You are in a different mindset. Now you're focusing on what is ahead of you, which is being 30. That's 4 years away. So what do you do to prepare for that? What do you start to think about there? So I think that no matter what, because I think I'm a child at heart, I feel like that's a personality trait that I have. I just don't think that, I don't know how to explain this. Some people are, as adults, are going to be children and act like children. They're going to be that, oh, I have a child at heart, but they behave like a child still. They, and I'm not saying that you can't have your hobbies or your likes, because like watching anime doesn't mean that you are acting as a child. It's just you embracing a childhood activity or a childhood um, memory, and you keeping that nostalgia present in your life because that's who you are.
yeah.
Um, like I play FIFA on my phone, and I sometimes I nerd out. Like I think Cassandra said a couple weeks ago, I should get a magician's hat, a wizard's hat. I'm like, why? She's like, you're acting like a nerd. You need a wizard's hat. And I'm like, okay. Trying to explain to her how FIFA works, and she's like, wow, you're like a super nerd about FIFA. I was like, okay. She's like, I'm gonna get
It,
you a wizard's hat. I was like,
it's
why do I need a wizard's hat for soccer? Like, she's like, because you're literally talking about a video game that I really don't care about. So I appreciate you telling me about it. I'm like, she
you
didn't
know
say it.
that's the funny part. Like, and I don't mean to cut you off, but
No,
like
you're good.
I haven't had a like up until about maybe a year ago, I haven't had a system in like a few years. Like the last system that I owned was a PlayStation 4, and I had that in college. And so like I hadn't really been playing it so much, and the reason why I ended up getting rid of it is cuz like I was like I need to focus. I need to like I'm setting up a 5-year plan and I can't distract myself from this. So I need to just focus right now. And so I was, I told Abby about it, and she was just like, "Oh, okay, he likes video games." That's all she heard. And so then she bought me this Nintendo Switch, and so I have this Switch, and like when I first got it, like I'm playing it, and then she's getting frustrated. She's just like, "Well, I don't not like in a bad way. She's just like, you can't spend all day on it and like not like interact with people." And I was like, you know what? You're absolutely correct. This is why I don't have video games, because
Yeah.
I know who I am when I have access to it. And so like after that, like I still have the Switch. It still works. I haven't actually touched it or played anything on it in almost like 4 or 5 months. Like I've not to say that not to say that I don't want to. It's just I've got too many things I'm juggling right now, and there's too many things going on. So it's not like I can just be like, oh hey, let me just sit and play this mindlessly for the next 3 hours. Like I'll
Yeah.
be lucky if I catch one game or like 20 minutes of game playing. Like
Right.
so at this point I'm just like, you know what? I'm just kind of taking it one day at a time. And like I realize like I think like when when I think of when you think of age and you think of being grown, you think of age. You attach like a number to it. You say when I'm grown. So like if you're a kid, you're like, when I'm grown, I'm gonna be 18. It's like, okay, all right, well, what does that have to do with anything? Because at 18 years old, are you paying for all your bills? Are you actually working? Are you in school? What does that look like exactly? What's the definition of grown? And then you're at 18 years old. When I'm 25, I'm gonna have this, and you start basically just pushing life down the road more and more and more. And the truth is, being grown has nothing to do with age.
Right.
There's a lot of people that I know who claim that they're grown, but they act like small children. Like there's a this woman, right? This is all over social media, and I know you're not on social media, so allow me to tell you this story. So Chris Brown is a singer, an artist, and has like these shows that he does, and he's notorious for like he's a smooth Casanova type of guy, and like for whatever reason, women just like throw themselves at this guy, right? And not to go into crazy detail, but this woman on social media, she had her wedding day. She canceled her wedding so that way she could get backstage passes to go to a Chris Brown concert. And so the guy naturally he canceled the wedding, the marriage, the whole entire like thing, the venue and everything. It just lost your deposit, and she was just like, "Well, but can you blame me? It's Chris Brown." And so, like, I say this to say is age has nothing to do with being grown. Being grown means that you are responsible for taking care of yourself, and you're responsible for taking care of your bills and taking care of like being a responsible adult. And I feel like everyone has a different definition of grown, but to me that's what grown is: being able to handle your business and then also be able to help the fellow people around you. That's what it is to me. And so you can't be like, oh yeah, I'm grown, I'm 25. It just got nothing to do with it. It means nothing. What matters is like how much of an impact can you generate with those around you. That's the scale that a lot of people use to judge a man. I think one of the quotes that we've used many times on the show is, you can tell the true value of a man by the lives he's touched once he's passed. That's how you can measure the true value of a person. When they were here, how did they touch you? How did they make you feel? How did they motivate you? How did they inspire you? Those are the things that, like, to me, that defines grown. But that also means that you can still have childlike aspects in your life where you're able to, you know, play a video game for a few minutes, or you can squeal at the TV when Germany scores a goal and beats Brazil, which is the true thing because Finn was telling me about this pre-show. And then you can do a lot of those things that like are deemed immature, but you can have those things as a part of your life. But growing is just the amount of impact that you can generate with those people that are within your reach.
Right. No, I absolutely agree, man. And you
That's my definition of it, at least.
well, so we're talking about being grown, and I in the beginning when you first mentioned, I was kind of like hiding behind the mic because it was one of the moments that I had on the episode at that time, and I'll share it again because I think it's a comical it's a comical story, but it is one. It's actually one that I have talked to my dad about recently. It was actually really funny because we had a conversation about how it's so crazy how I've grown up, and now I'm be 26. So this was back in, I think, like April or something like that. But anyways,
Yeah,
beside the point, grown. I thought I knew what the definition of grown was when I was young. And when I say young, I'm not old, but when I was 13,
younger.
younger. Yeah, let me rephrase that. Well, back in my day, when iPhones were still on the like looking like this, and iPhones are gonna probably be like holographic when by the time we're old. Um, I remember one day I came home and I told my dad because my dad had asked me to go do dishes or something like that. Did like, hey, you gonna help us? Like, no, I'm gonna be in my room. And my dad's like, no, you're gonna go do dishes. And I said, no, I'm grown. No. I said I have a life. I have things I gotta do. Oh
Boy,
yeah, man,
the
I
only thing
found out
I don't
real
think I
quick.
I don't think I touched on this when you first brought it up, but if I told my mom that, I would probably I would be I she would throw something at my head, like physically physically remind me that I'm not grown enough.
Well, yeah, it's my dad's very creative, so I don't think my mom probably would have done it if I told her that. But my dad's very creative, so he was like, he does this thing where, do you remember? Okay, Key and Peele,
Yeah.
and there's this. It's the substitute teacher episode
Yes.
where it's like they're going for. They're like, Mr. Garvey, we have to go to our. We have like clubs. He goes, oh, is that so? And what's the reason for this premature exodus? And he's just like, the way he was talking, he's like, you part of the chess club? Sit your butt down. You ain't going to no chess club. Like, okay, so think of that.
Yeah.
My dad's reaction was very similar. He was like, oh, is that so? You're too grown. You have a life. You have things to do. Why don't you go pack yourself a suitcase? Go to the garage, get your suitcase, and start packing up your stuff. No. Oh, what happened? I thought you were grown. I said, it's like, no, you're gonna pack up your suitcase. So my dad made me pack my suitcase,
Yeah.
and I'm like crying. I'm like using my underwear to wipe down my tears, and like I'm being super dramatic. And that's probably not really part of the story, but it's makes it funny. But I do remember wiping my tears away and just, man, that was a really, it was like at 10 o'clock at night too. I was
Let
still,
me ask you this: did he punish you afterwards?
no, he found humor in the fact that his son thought he could say something like that in his house, and just watching me pack a suitcase, and the fact that like he's like, this kid really thinks that he can come in here or stay in my, him being in my home, telling me that he's got a life, because he then. I mean, it would have been funny had he like started passing me his bills.
Yeah. I see. I don't know exactly. I'm not a parent, so I'm not sure if this is too much. But I feel like in that moment, I say, oh, "Okay, you're grown. I want you to pack up your things
And
and
here's some bills for you.
put them on." No, I'm not going to give bills. I'm going to say, "Pack up your things and then let's go." And then as you start to cry and you're like, "Oh no, okay, that's fine. You could stay." Unpack everything right now, and for the next month, you're washing every single dish that hits that sink.
Oh no, my dad basically would just remind me. He kind of did this thing. So are you grown today? He would do that for like a month.
Yeah.
But no,
Hey.
it was just because I was so sensitive then. So I felt like I was already getting punished for having to go get a suitcase from the attic, whatever. I don't want to go. I'm just like crying, and I'm like carrying the suitcase to my room. I don't want to. He's like, well,
You're,
you said you had a life. I mean, I thought maybe you were ready to go. I'm
there's a
like,
moment right there. The moment you start crying, say, "Whoa, hold back those tears. You grown. Yeah, grown people
yeah,
don't
my dad
cry."
said, no, my dad, I remember him saying, you weren't crying when you told me that you had a life.
Yeah, you grown,
Remember?
man. Yeah,
I was like, I didn't mean it. It's like, well, guess what? I meant it. Pack your suitcase. I'll be
yeah.
back. And he just,
This is what we do. Like, especially because it's like you're living in your parents' house, and they're like, "Yo, if you expect to live here, these are the rules that we will follow. This is what we are doing.
right.
So if you're not doing this, then guess what?
There are going to be some
Then
repercussions.
okay, you're gonna have to find someplace else to live because I'm not doing this with you."
Yeah. No, and that's the thing that like I really find, I just look back on it now, right? I appreciate those moments. It makes you grateful for what you have. It
Yeah,
makes you look back and go, wow, yes, I am grown. Um, and just to compare to where we were 2 years ago, uh, I just feel like myself as an individual, I've grown a lot. I've grown a lot, and I don't think that any person, if there's any tidbit of knowledge or any nugget that I have for anybody today, it's this: if you're not learning, if you're not in the school of life every day, you're dead. Every day should be an opportunity to learn. And I think a lot of people think that they reach their 4 year degree, their 6 year degree, or whatever degree that they have, or education. That's all the learning you'll ever do in your life. And I want to be honest with you. I think that no matter how old you are, you're always going to have something you learn because you're still alive. And
yep,
so, you know, with everything going on in the world, everything going on in this country, and all the things that we experience, I think that it's actually a happy balance. It's like the yin and yang. The white part of it has a little drop of black, and then the black part of the yin yang symbol has a little bit of white. And I kind of look at that and go, with every child, or sorry, with every adult, there's a childlike tendency, and that's just what, or tendencies. It's what keeps you balanced. It's what keeps you reminded of who you are and who you get to be.
Yeah.
And the fact is, I think it's insane that, like, we always rush to become adults. We rush to become adults. We rush to become 18. And when
Yeah.
you become 18, you're like, damn, life is not what
It's not
happened.
what I
It's
expected.
not what I expected. Then now you're forced to, not really forced, but nature has it where you have to now figure out how to, you get a job, you have to get an apartment, you have to,
Deep,
find means to get to work, or you start to find what. But you know what?
bro.
Then you look back and you're like, wow, I did it.
Bro, I
I'm
just I
doing it.
just thought about this because you just
Flashback.
said something that just like I was reading something that was saying like there's a certain population of Gen Z. You're Gen Z, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
So there's a certain population of Gen Z that's like they're upset with their parents and they're like, "Mom, Dad, I didn't ask to be here, so you need to pay for everything as an adult because I didn't ask to be born." And so like they're like pushing to get like their parents to pay for like their lifestyle, their like all these different things. And I'm just like, wait, how does that work? You didn't ask to be born, but they should pay for like this world sucks. And like I can't believe it. The nerve. Like
That's so okay. Well, when they have kids, then their kids are going to say the same thing back
if
to
they
them.
have kids, they're saying that more and more people are waiting to in their 30s to have kids, and if they have, they're only having one. So it's not like our parents back in the day. They had like four, five, six different kids. It's just having less and then waiting to be older to do it as well.
Right. Well, I think it's because, well, look at the way the world is, man. The world is. That's a whole nother conversation. I'll keep it. I'll keep it to minimum. But all I can say is this: is just that I'm appreciative of my parents. Like, I don't. I tell them all the time I have no expectations for them to take care of anything. And I guess you have your Gen Zs that you were just talking about a moment ago, but then you have Gen Zs like myself, where we're grateful that we had independence, and we're grateful that our parents were hard on us, because I have friends who I grew up with, or people, I don't even say friends, because I don't really hang out. I don't ever hang out with them, but people that I hung out with,
Childhood friends.
my childhood friends, that
Yeah.
they have everything they want, everything that they need. And I remember they were okay with living at their parents' house, and they're like 23 years old. And it's like, hey, kudos to you, man. If that's what you want to do, that's how you want to live life. That's a totally whatever. That's on you. But it's the realization that, like, my my parents are hard on me because, number one, I was a tough child. So I already had the upper hand to have discipline every single day. It was on the menu for every single meal, on every aspect of my day. Discipline was there. I'm like, oh, part of the routine today, discipline. Gonna be in trouble. We're gonna have something for you. And what I'm getting at is, like, now it's like you look back and it's like your childhood behavior. And this is something I've heard, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people say that when you're an adult and when you have kids, it's because you, as an adult, you want your childhood to live through your children, and
Correct.
so that you can teach them and have and enjoy. Like why are parents and adults mesmerized by watching Bluey? Why as an adult do I? And I think I talked about this in the last time too. But why is it that I'm mesmerized by a kid show about these dogs that are living at home, and it's like
I've never
like,
seen Bluey, so I'm not.
okay, but think about it. Okay, think about your godchildren, and if they want to watch a show, you're probably sitting there like,
Oh, like in Kanto, and Kanto was like the one
oh my
thing
god,
that,
yeah,
like,
but you're mesmerized by
yeah,
it. I'm like, whoa.
yeah,
You're like, is anyone looking and judging me because I really like this movie? And you're
yeah,
like, but that's why people have kids. So it's like, I appreciate the fact that, like, now this next step of life is getting married, and then, obviously focusing on getting our education so that we can provide the lifestyle that we want for our kids. Between both of our careers, Cassandra and
Hmm.
I, so that they can have a life. But I feel like now, and I just want to hear what you think. I see kids sometimes they'll run across the street and you're like driving and you have to like stop. And you're like, what the heck, man? Why would that kid be doing that? Why is that kid running across the street? But it's like, remember when you did that? Do you remember when you did that kind of stuff? And then you're like, can I get mad at this kid? You want to because you're an adult. But then you like, yeah, but I also egged someone's house and threw toilet paper at their house. That's pretty
Yeah, I
bad.
never did that.
Yeah, I did. And you know what? One time we did it, we got caught, and this lady came out with a knife, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're never doing this again."
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Like I've never did that. Like the worst thing I did, like in terms of vandalizing people's property, is those inflatable snowmen that would be come out like for Christmas, or
Christmas time.
it's like inflatable Santas and stuff like that. We would just tackle them and then run away.
Oh
So
yeah,
we
oh yeah. See what we did? We straight up just egged someone's house. One of my buddies had an idea of taking weed killer and spraying it all over the front yard of someone's grass. I did not partake in that, but it was funny as he double hockey sticks because it was on the path for me to go to school. And I kid you not, every day I rode by, the grass was just getting browner and browner. And then these people were like, my grass is brown. So, of
none the
course,
wiser, had no idea, and they're like,
and I
"Why is
was
it
not part
down?"
of it. I was not part of that. I couldn't do that, but I was okay with egging someone's house. But the lady did make us clean it. Actually, I told my dad
I was
about it.
gonna
My
say,
dad,
which is worse, like egging someone's house or like weed killing them, their lawn?
well, it's just like, I don't know. I think weed killing someone's lawn is just like petty and you're trying to like get back at someone, but for what? I don't know. But I would never do that now. Obviously, I
Yeah,
think it's kind of stupid. But at the time, egging someone's house, that was fun. Then you hear the crack and just see the egg go splat, and it just like comes down off the windows. So I did
yeah,
tell my dad, and my dad, being my dad, he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna go over there. I'm gonna actually go over there with you, and you're gonna help this lady clean her house. Hope you have
yeah,
fun."
yeah.
So my dad basically ratted me out because I ratted myself out to my dad because I thought it was cool and funny. I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, guess what I did today?" And he's like, "Yeah, well, guess what? You get to do this
Let
weekend.
me
You
show
get
you
to
how
clean
funny it
now. Yeah,
is.
see how funny it is." So we were out there cleaning this woman's house.
Especially in the Florida heat, you're mean.
Yeah, we were.
I knew it had to have smelled like it had to
Yeah,
be
it
like
was, and it
terrible.
rained too. So like the toilet paper, like
Mm,
drooped on the tree. Oh, it was so bad. It was so
yeah,
so bad.
the
But like
worst. What did
at
the
the
lady? Tell me. What did that lady say to you?
Oh, she was laughing. Well, originally she was like very mad. She's like, "I knew you were one of them. You guys come here and you egg my house. What did I ever do to you?" And I'm like, because it was at the bus stop, and she's like, "My corner of the road is the bus stop." And blah blah blah. I don't remember exactly everything, but then she was just like, and then she was laughing because she's like, "I can't believe your dad made you come here and clean the house." I said, "That was really
That's
nice of him."
hilarious.
She was like, "That's really nice." But she was really nice though, because even though I cleaned up her house, she did. She made me. I remember she made grilled cheese sandwiches and one of the best lemonades I ever had. Um, this crappy
Let me
part.
get
The
this
crappy part.
recipe.
Well, the crappy part is my. I was only one of the friends who cleaned the house. I was so mad. Like I was pissed
So
because my
let,
other buddies they did not help at all. Though I wasn't even the ringleader. I got stabbed for it. So
so did you snitch or no?
I don't really. Honestly, I don't remember. I was annoyed. But
Uh,
my dad didn't really believe me. He's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. And he basically told me, you're going to go over there and clean because you're the one who came and told me. He says, I only know because he told me.
yeah,
I was like, he
it's
says, I
like
bet you your friends didn't go home and tell their parents. Because I did it for attention. I wanted him to be like, wow, my son's so cool. So he's like, yeah, I bet you if you ask your friends if they went home and if they told their parents, I bet they didn't. He's like, there you go. So sometimes less is better. And I'm like, I didn't learn that lesson at that time. It took me a little while to figure less is better. And but now it's like you laugh about your stories, but then you see a kid doing something crazy like you know uh, whacking the plants with a stick. You're like, why are you destroying the
why are
plant?
you doing that? There's no
And
reason
I
for this.
remember I would rip out the whole fucking tree. Oh,
Yikes!
I would rip out the whole tree.
We got.
I don't know. Whoops.
You better bleep that out, or otherwise YouTube is going to penalize us on
Yeah,
that.
they are. Sorry. Whoopsies. I'm coming off of work, guys. I apologize. The emergency room will taint you in all kinds of way. Sorry.
I will say this, like, as far as like when you're a kid, right? That childlike state, you have a mindset. And I remember, like, I was doing youth group when I was one of the youth leaders back in like 2017, 2018, around there. And so I'm helping out with this youth group, and one of the kids that we sat and prayed for, I was just like, hey, so like, what's like the most important thing to you? Like, what do you prioritize in life? And he was like, yeah, bro, I just want to be popular. I was like, okay, but like, what else? Like, what else interests you outside of like? He's like, yeah, like, all I care about is popular because popularity brings me girls and attention. I said, okay, but then what happens if all that popularity leaves? Nah, it's never gonna leave. I said, okay. And then like he proceeded to tell me this story about how he climbed up on the second story roof of the school and then jumped off and landed. And he didn't hurt his ankle or anything apparently, but that got him a lot of attention, and everyone was like, yo, you're the cool kid that jumped off the roof, and da 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 da. I'm just thinking to myself, I was like, man, your priorities are just so all jacked up. Like you
Yep.
don't realize like I understand, like when we were kids we had a sense of invincibility. It felt like nothing could ever take us down until you started getting older and you're like, oh, my bones creak a little bit and like all this stuff. Like for me it was just um I broke both my ankles in high school, and I realized, oh, okay, maybe I'm not as invincible as I thought I was. I'm very invincible. So you just kind of just like the priorities that I had, especially back when I was 18. I remember thinking, all right, I need to be popular. I do remember having that thought process, and not necessarily popular, but it was like I just need to be in the cool kids like group. And so all I would try to do is just make sure that I was friends or close enough proximity to like the cool kids, and then you get an invite just by proxy. And
Hmm.
so like I can't judge like to your point, you can't judge somebody for doing something that you did as well. It's just part of the process. It's part of learning who you are, and it's part of growing. And so to me, that's what I was like, okay, you know what? I can't get mad at you and I can't get frustrated with you, but I understand that like you're doing the best that you can and you're trying to figure out your way. And life is just really just about figuring it out.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever noticed how you have an idea of how things will turn out and you realize just when they're actually happening, they didn't turn out anywhere near what you expected? Like, I'm starting to learn that life is one of those things that you can plan for it, you can have an idea of what you see in the future, but it really does its own thing. And the question is, how do you adjust to life as it starts to spiral out of your control? You've first got to realize that you never had control to begin with. And by the grace of God and Him allowing you to be in certain situations is the reason why your life has turned out the way that it has. Like, think about it like this: you're getting married right now, and had you not been adopted by your parents, you would have never met Cassandra.
Very true.
If you hadn't decided, I'm going to move to Orlando after you were in the military and then you came back, I would have never met you. You would have never met John. So I say that to say that sometimes life feels like it's falling apart, but it's just really just things falling into place. And like that was one of the realizations that I had the other day. Just to close things up, that was one of the realizations I had the other day. I set out on a 5 year plan, and I went and I decided I wanted to do this 5 year plan more so based off like monetary and financial security. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do this and I'll do it for 5 years. Then after that, then I'll take a break and then figure out what the next steps are. And leaving a place when you're really comfortable, especially being in a Popka. Popka was really good to me, and so I worked with amazing people, amazing nurses, and I've have these bonds with these people that I will forever hold near and dear to my heart for the rest of my life. But I had to leave, and leaving was one of those things that it was uncomfortable, it was scary, and I wasn't sure if I'd be successful. But leaving was the best thing for me to do, because had I not been in that situation where I was moving around and traveling, I don't think I would have met Abby. And not meeting her, when I met her, like, it just kind of it everything just kind of clicked. It kind of just worked out. Just they all everything just worked in a way that I've never had or ever experienced in my life. And I say all that to say is you have an idea of what you think is going to happen, but you really honestly don't know what can actually happen. So there's a lot of people that are out there that are afraid because they think, all right, I know how the outcome is. But sometimes what we have in mind, we work ourselves up to a point where we're too scared to actually make a move or make a push or to put ourselves out there. And the truth is, you never really know how people are going to react until you actually get there.
Hmm.
So put yourself out there and, take your time, like if you have to, but put yourself out there and allow yourself to actually go off and sit out for whatever goal that is that you're going for. Like, dream big as a kid, but actually put yourself out there and actually go after and pursue it with a passion and like a focus, and you'll find exactly what you're looking for in life. And I feel like that's one of the things that we're lacking nowadays in our youth is we're lacking vision and that passion. It's more of like, oh well, I deserve this, I'm owed this. You have to have that vision, you have to have that passion, and you have to have that work ethic in order to find the success that you're looking for.
Absolutely, man. I agree. And I feel like as we close out, I mean, I don't want to add anything else because I feel like that's like a perfect way to end this episode. I feel like at the end of the day, we come to the show because we have a purpose in our life. We said that when we first started this. I think we collaborated at Starbucks, and I remember you and I were talking about our goal. Oh yeah, to live to generate an impact that will change the algorithm for a better world. Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what
That's the
we.
goal.
I was like, I thought you were getting up to go. I was like, just got started. I'm just
You
kidding.
got to turn off the camera first.
Yeah. Um, I think that we are very very grateful, and I think we have the passion to be able to come on here and talk about something that's
Yep.
hard for people to embrace. I think we see our podcast go in waves because I feel like people are not always ready. And I've watched the algorithm for our podcast, and I know sometimes it's dead silent. Not really, but it's not our standard weekly listening. But then you'll see a spike, and I think a lot of it has to do with people personally, because this has been statistically across our platform since the beginning of time. And I think it's because, and then this is respected. I highly respect people because you're going through something in your life. You see, we post an episode. You may see something in the description about what we're talking about, and you're like, "Well, this is gonna hit home," but I'm not ready. So that's why I think a lot of times when we see our episodes come out, there's episodes that spike later on because people go through seasons, people go back and listen to our episodes. And at the end of the day, we are two guys who sat down years ago, incorporating what we already love to do and just making it like, I don't want to say a product, but something that we can look back on later on in life on ourselves. Like, I listen to episodes just to hear us talk about whatever it is that we got going on, and it's like, wow, we said that. And like,
Yeah.
one of my favorite episodes, it has absolutely no, it has no, I mean, I don't know, it just makes you laugh. One of my favorite episodes is the bloopers episode. Don't know why, it just is. That was probably one of the hardest episodes to actually create, because I had to go back and create, and I had to split
You have
up
to clip.
episodes,
Yeah.
and I had to find snippets. That was probably the hardest episode that I have had to work on, because again, it was multiple different things. We also had to find different bloopers. I had to listen to hours and hours and hours of different content throughout our seasons. And so, like, just looking back on everything, man, I'm grateful that we have a podcast. I'm grateful that we have grown to be the men that we are. Um, again, I know you're a few miles ahead of me on this journey, but it's just amazing to see where you were just 2 years ago and now where you are today, where you're going to be at my wedding, and you and Abby are both going to our wedding, along with everybody else that we have invited, all the special people, all the people that I talk to on a regular basis, my parents, obviously, and Cassandra's family, and John and his spouse. But what's what's great is this podcast has made me grow. I think you did this a couple weeks ago where you kind of share this. Like, I have my realizations with what we talk about regularly, and more so recently, because it's like I am going to be the best version that I can possibly be for the big day. Because at the end of the day, that's just another milestone, right? A very
Yeah.
big lifelong milestone. So all around, I'm just grateful that we get to do this podcast. This is kind of like a little long, like dragged out closing. If there's anything else you got, man, to share or talk
No,
about?
I mean, I definitely agree with you. For the point of like, you have to be the best you for the person that you're with. It's no longer just about being the best you for you. You have to be the best you because there's other people that depend on you. And so that means physically getting yourself in the best shape you possibly can. That means financially putting yourself in the best position that you possibly can. That means spiritually being in the most peaceful state of mind that you possibly can. Um, just in every aspect of your life, you seek that improvement, not just for yourself anymore, but because there's another person that depends on you. And if you're going to be a leader of a household, then how good of a leader are you if you can't even control those aspects? Like, everyone thinks that being a leader means financially. Yeah, but that's part of it, but it's not the only thing. There's more to it. There's being a spiritual leader. There's being a physical leader. There's, you know, those are other aspects that kind of get neglected and don't get highlighted nearly enough. And you just have to find a way to keep keep wanting or desiring to improve, not just for yourself, but for your wife, the future kids that you're about to have, or
Right.
you have to be able to at least consider like those key components.
Yeah. Yeah. And have a childlike mentality still. Hold on to that. I feel like that keeps us
Grounded.
grounded. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
balance. But for all you guys out there who listen to our show, and for those who have been, this is our, you've been here since day one. You guys know the drill.
we love you. We
Monday,
appreciate you.
yeah, we do. We do love you guys, and we do appreciate you guys. You know, we're making strides in all kinds of directions. Um, so by showing your love, go over to YouTube, give us a follow, hit the notification bell. Mondays, 5:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll get the video version. It premieres at 5:30, and then of course the next day the
Where else
audio.
can they? Where else can they connect with us?
So our social media platform is the Best You Nation. Um, let's see. Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, the best you nation, and then I'm available on 24 hours in a day on Instagram and on TikTok. So check out the pages and check out like connect with us. Like, we're pretty approachable guys, so one of us is always available in that regard. But I think, Finn, uh, it's been good. It's been fun. I've enjoyed this episode. So um, I hope that every single one of you guys have a wonderful, blessed week. And like I try to leave off with this, and sometimes I forget, but be the change or be the peace that you want in your life. Meaning that, like, if you want something in your life, then give it to somebody else first. So do a random act of kindness, hold the door open, give a compliment, whatever it is. Do that this week, and it will return to you. But just try to be the good person that you actually are. Showcase that, because we live in a world that has a lot of evils, and it's just better for us as a whole just to actually take the time and, you know, just be have a genuine human interaction and be a good person.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Hey, man, that's all we got to say, man. That's good. That's power. Well, until next time, I appreciate you. Thank you guys for so much for being here, and
Take care.
take care.